What's up everyone, OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about Elden Ring, the brand new Dark Souls evolution from Miyazaki and From Software, and also the next character in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, the Fighter's Pass, because this is something that I get asked quite a bit, so I kind of wanted to delve into the evolution of Dark Souls because I haven't talked about it too much on the channel, and then also who I think is coming next to Smash. So let's first start off with the Super Smash Bros. Content. So who is the next character going to be? And as many of you guys can see from the title here, I think that it's going to be a Resident Evil character. Now, the two different characters that I have my eyes set on is Leon S. Kennedy from Resident Evil 2 and also Resident Evil 4. He's also in Resident Evil 6 as well, having a campaign, and I'm sure he's made some appearances here and there in terms of other Resident Evil titles. Also, Jill Valentine, obviously the original Resident Evil, kind of went on there, and other Resident Evil games. She's been in Resident Evil 5 and stuff like that. So we all know Jill Valentine, we all know Leon S. Kennedy. I'm thinking that those two characters, either one of those, have a shot at getting in. That's what I think, at least. Heck, they can even pull some type of like Luminary or the hero type of thing where you kind of have all of them as like a skin or something, and maybe you get Leon and also Jill Valentine from Resident Evil. Now, here are my reasonings why I think Resident Evil and these two characters, one of these two, I'm kind of leaning more towards Leon S. Kennedy than Jill, but you never know at this point. Here's the reason why. Capcom's relationship with Nintendo. Capcom and Nintendo actually have a phenomenal relationship despite what other people try to tell you, because they get mad about the price of a game or how Capcom does some bad business practice, which we'll talk about in just a bit. But the relationship is actually pretty good, and here's the reason why it's pretty good. One, we're getting a lot of the old Capcom ports that we never got on the Wii U, that we got sometimes on the 3DS with some things, but not everything. So we're getting a lot more content than what we got before, and there's also plans to do new content in terms of games as well. But if you look at the most recent, it was the Nintendo Direct at E3. Look at what Nintendo did for Capcom. It seemed like they put together a commercial, a very Nintendo-like-ish commercial for Resident Evil games coming to the Nintendo Switch. And it wasn't even like it was new Resident Evil games, or it wasn't even anything like it's going to be something maybe crazy. Like we get all these different Resident Evil games all kind of packed into one for the low price of 20 bucks or something like that. What it was basically Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6 coming over to the system with pretty much no other information outside of that, and they put together a whole little ad for it at E3, and that's big exposure, just because I personally feel that they do have that great relationship between them, to where Nintendo decided, let's go and let's get some more exposure on Resident Evil. The thing about it though, and it kind of leads into what I want to talk about a little bit with the bad business and everything, but Nintendo fans, despite all of that, still absolutely love Resident Evil. Resident Evil games usually do well when it comes to like the Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2. Those were older games, came over, people still liked it despite the whole cartridge splitting thing. You look at Resident Evil 4, for example, people still like that on the Switch. I know it was in the top eShop charts for a while, so there were a number of people who did buy the game. Then also you have to look at like the Resident Evil collection. Despite of that price of what they did there, people still bought it, people still like Resident Evil. So I think more Resident Evil is going to come over to the Switch, and Nintendo fans are still going to put the time and attention into Resident Evil, despite there being some issues across the board there. But the relationship in terms of getting something like that with that kind of cheesy horror Resident Evil stuff that was at E3 was actually kind of dope. It was kind of dope to see that Nintendo and Capcom would put that together. I absolutely love Resident Evil 5 myself, so I'm looking forward to potentially picking that one up on the Switch. I picked up Resident Evil 4 for a video that I did on the channel, which you guys can watch and you can see my thoughts. But even before that, like I've played almost like every version of Resident Evil 4. I've played the PC, I've played the Xbox One, GameCube version, PS2, the Wii version back in the day. I have so many versions of Resident Evil, so it all kind of relates when it comes to how Leon S. Kennedy or Jill could be in there. I'm leaning towards Leon just because Resident Evil 4 was such an iconic game on the GameCube when it was released, and it was released first on the GameCube, then it came out later to a bunch of other systems. Now, I do want to talk about the huge third-party characters so far before we transfer transfer into the next topic here. And if you look at the third-party characters that we've gotten characters like Banjo, who I guess used to be first-party at one point for the most part. Then you also look at a character like the Luminary, big game with him coming out, Dragon Quest XI S Definitive Edition. And then you also look at Joker, Persona 5. So if you look at all the different characters, it's pretty much been big third-party characters kind of out there that people are just like, oh wow, to get excited about. I think Resident Evil characters like Leon or Jill would be in the same vein of a Luminary, or the same vein as a Persona Joker, or the same vein as Banjo-Kazooie. A little bit different with that one because that is a former Nintendo type of first-party type of IP, but at the same time, it's still a big third-party announcement. So I think Resident Evil would definitely be one that fits that bill. So what do you guys think about my thoughts on the next Super Smash Bros. Ultimate DLC fighter? I'll probably have a video for like the last one or whatever the case is, or if they're going to do anything else, or for season 2, I'll discuss that. But that's what I think for the next fighter in the Fighters Pass. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, now moving on to the next topic here, we have Elden Ring, and this is an evolution of the Dark Souls gameplay, or the Dark Souls series, according to the From Software president and director Hidetaka Miyazaki in a recent interview with IGN. So let's go ahead and get into what he had to say here. Elden Ring is a third-person action RPG with a fantasy setting. The gameplay is not so far from Dark Souls. That doesn't mean that the gameplay will be identical, but you could say that Elden Ring belongs to the same genre. With a larger world, new systems and action mechanics inevitably become necessary, said Miyazaki. In that sense, I think Elden Ring is more of a natural evolution. Now here's a little bit of an overview of the game because I still haven't covered it too much, and this game actually has me a lot more excited than any previous Dark Souls games, pretty much since the original Demon Souls back in the day. Elden Ring, developed by From Software Inc. and Bandai Namco Entertainment Inc., is a fantasy action RPG adventure set within a world created by Hidetaka Miyazaki, creator of the influential Dark Souls video game series, and George R.R. Martin, author of the New York best-selling fantasy series, A Song of Ice and Fire. Danger and discovery lurk around every corner from Software's largest game to date. Miyazaki, president and game director from Software Inc., known for directing critically acclaimed games in the beloved franchises including Armored Core, Dark Souls, and Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. George R.R. Martin is the #1 New York Times best-selling author of many novels, including the acclaimed series A Song of Fire and Ice, A Game of Thrones, A Clash of Kings, A Storm of Swords, A Feast for Crows, and A Dance with Dragons. As a writer-producer, he has worked on The Twilight Zone, Beauty and the Beast, and various feature films and plots that were never made. Elden Ring is developed for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Windows PC. I'm here to talk about the actual game and if I'm interested in this style. And from what I've seen and what they're trying to do with this one, this game actually has me the most excited to play a Souls type of game, or maybe even an evolution, anything to do with From Software. The most excited since I've been probably since Bloodborne or Demon Souls. I was very excited to see what was going down with Bloodborne. So that game actually had me excited back in like what, 2015, that was that game, but not as excited as I was to play Demon Souls. I remember back when Demon Souls originally was being advertised, it was like such a new and completely different type of thing. So it was something that I can expect. It was just a PlayStation 4 exclusive, but with this game here, them saying that it's going to be a larger world, a huge fantasy type of setting, that kind of has me more excited than the type of gameplay restrictions that were in Dark Souls games before in terms of the areas and the locations. I like what they're doing here with Elden Ring, and I think that this is going to be a very successful, potentially even their most successful game, because they are kind of branching out a little bit more and evolving the gameplay past what we're going here. Could this be the Dark Souls series Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild? I'm not talking about in the same game structure in terms of what they did there, but in the types of evolution that we haven't seen before, where it's familiar in certain areas, but then again, it completely deviates in other areas and makes an experience that might be the best in the series. And that's kind of how I'm thinking that they want to do with this game here. So I'm all for it. I'm all for the evolutions of certain franchises. I haven't been excited about a Dark Souls style of game in a very long time, since 2015. That was the last time that I truly got excited to play anything from Software. So I think it's going to be cool to see what this game actually ends up shaping to be, because we haven't really seen too much. We've just gotten information on it. But it's From Software, so obviously you know that there's going to be a certain level of polish and type of quality that they do with their titles, and they've had a lot of success when it comes down to it. So what do you guys think about the next character for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate in terms of what I think, and also Elden Ring and what they're doing with this franchise? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Alright guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Go and check out the links in the description below. We got Facebook and Twitter. Go and give us a like and a follow on our social media. Hit that like button if you did like this video. Let me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future. And subscribe to PlayerEssence for this RPG, Japanese, and Nintendo gaming news. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.